Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 7:42 p.m. on the 10th of January 2024. I've been struggling with my laptop, hasn't been working. I've been trying to get it together to continue with reading some of my writings that I wrote many years ago. I have an actual website on OptusNet, which my laptop wouldn't let me access for some idiotic reason when I can actually, it comes up on my iPhone computer fine. So it's a bit odd, and I had terrible trouble with my laptop. Had to shut it down and restart it multiple times just to get to bring my page up on Vocal Media. So if I look a bit frazzled, this is why. I desperately need a new laptop, but I don't have any money. So it's just a constant seeping wound of frustration for me. But on a bright note, Spirit told me this morning, they said, you're going to have a lovely day, Tanya. And I have indeed had a lovely day. I had my debrief with my worthy and beautiful and soulful and very kind and nurturing and supportive psychiatrist. And then I went to Garden City and bought a few groceries and a few, necessities like toilet paper and, just boring stuff, and had a bit of a look around. I sort of found myself in a little bit of an altered, dissociative state, because I hate being in big shopping centres really, or supermarkets. But I soldiered through. I got the things I needed. It was a bit touch and go in Big W because my brain just kept leaving the building. Elvis left the building a few times. So I had to kind of, reconfigure and focus. I bought a big massive bulk packet of toilet paper and a big massive bulk thing of it's like a kind of nappy sand that you put in with your washing, because I thought I'll just stock up on a few things. Not that I'm expecting a catastrophe or anything, but I just like to occasionally buy things a bit in bulk because they last longer and it sort of works out a bit cheaper in the long run. Well, that's my logic anyway. Maybe I'm wrong about saving money, but for convenience sake, it's nice to have things in bulk in the house, and it lasts a bit longer, not running to the shops all the time. I really hate having to run to the shops, people. Anyway, I got caught in this massive freaking squally storm that came on very suddenly while I was driving to my psych, and luckily I had the foresight this time to bring an umbrella. And by the time I came out of my debrief, which was only half an hour later, the sun had already come out and the rain had gone. So it was a bit astonishing, summer weather. But anyway, there was that. I had a lovely meal in Garden City. I had a Japanese curry from a place called the Curry Shop in Garbo, and it was so yummy. I actually was on the phone chatting to my friend Jared, and that when I went past again, I thanked the man. I said it was a lovely meal, and because it's important to be grateful and show appreciation to people sometimes. And on that note, my very first story, these are old stories that I wrote, or poems and stories that I wrote many, many years ago. This one dates back to this poem. Do I have the date on it? Sometimes I don't. It was 2000. So that's 24 years ago now. Time marches on, and I'm blipping in and out of the matrix and the hologram. Getting old and, nurturing and nourishing old memories like precious jewels sometimes. You've got to hold on to some of the lovely things, and this is my legacy to the world, people. I don't have money. I won't be leaving much of an inheritance if I pop my clogs for my kids, and quite frankly, they couldn't give a fuck anyway. So, this is what I'm leaving behind of me. There's no grandchildren. There'll be no great-grandchildren. There'll be no great-great-grandchildren. My line stops with me. There's no lovers to comfort and nourish me, or even offer a distraction. So there's only me and my dying computer and my stories. And you kind of have to laugh because here's a photo of me when I was a little girl. Let me see, can you see it? There's me. Beautiful little, I must have been about four there, or 5. It was, all these photos were taken before my sister's wedding, so I must have been about 4 probably, that my mother took me to this professional photographer and got photos of myself with my sister, because it was basically the last time that we would be together as, you know, under her roof, 2 daughters together, and the last time before my sister became a wife and a mother. And yeah, her life irrevocably changed, although she ended up having a long and happy marriage, so good on her. That wasn't the cards that was dealt me, but fate, everything comes down to fate and destiny sometimes. Anyway, the title of that particular website, which is fabulous and I can't show it to you, was created by my friend Jared, and it looks like a bordello with curtains and a 4-poster bed, and it was a bit prescient of him actually when he made that website 20 odd years ago, because I do indeed have a very opulent bed which I bought with my inheritance in 2012. And I did indeed have it draped with beautiful curtaining at one stage, although I've taken them down, but I might replace them eventually. And it was a bit astonishing. I looked at it, I said, "What made you think of that?" He said, "Oh, it suited your bohemian, quirky writing, you know." So anyway, sometimes it's funny how artists do something out of their imagination. It becomes quite prescient and it becomes a reality. It's kind of proof, though, that we are kind of living in a hologram and a glitching, itching, stitching, snitching matrix. Makes you wonder anyway. So I begin the readings. I don't think I have all of my writings that were on that website up here, but I'll read what I've got, and yeah, hope you enjoy them or glean something from them, or probably just some of you just, yeah, like the droning of my weird voice and my Kiwi accent until I laugh my witchy laugh and jolt you back into full consciousness. And then you're like, "I hate that bitch." Here we go. But it's okay. I don't mind being hated. I've been loved and I've been hated and I've been loved. So it all balances out in the end. Beautiful people of planet Earth. So Anything But Bland is the name of that website, and if you want to look for it, and you can bring it up on your computer if you don't have a glitching, malfeasant, dishonouring, disobeying laptop like I do, you can find those writings under, I'll read it out to you, www.members at, like the ampersand at, optusnet.com.au / and the funny little squiggle that looks like, goes like that shape, like a wave, which on my keyboard is on the far left button underneath the escape button, and you have to press the shift key to get to it. I've forgotten the name of it, sorry. And then after that, type in T, D for Desiree, ARONS for Aaron's, one word, and it should come up, but for some mental reason it won't come up on my laptop. But it is there. It's still there because it comes up on my iPhone. I don't know how these things work or why things won't work on one computer but they'll work on another. It absolutely makes no sense. So here's the Tanya going a little bit berserk, darlings, berserk. Now my hair's all fluffy. Oh, isn't that sweet? So the first poem is called Gratitude, written in the year 2000. Yes, I was trying to exercise gratitude because at that time period of my life I was going through absolute fucking hell, and had been for quite some years from the previous few years. So I was trying to open up my spirituality and tap into my inner resources so I could survive on this planet for a bit longer than I anticipated even back then. In the year 2000 I was 35, or at this point in time 34, going on 35. I can't remember the exact date I wrote this poem, but I think I wrote it when I was 35. So there was a lot of ugliness and putrescence that had gone on since the time I'd left my marriage when I was 29, going on 30. So I was just trying to recalibrate, as I always am doing, in a process of rebuilding, recalibrating, and blossoming and becoming and soaking myself in the love and the blessings and the generosity and the sweetness that comes my way as I experienced again today. And to my doctor and my beautiful soul friends. So anyway, I begin my poem, and here we go. Gratitude. Of beauty rich and rare, and treasures everywhere, the gift of life and love showers down from above. The inner dwelling of spirit in radiant glow doth shine, effervescent, thrilling, bounteous joy and love do flow through all the Sephirot, from Ein Sof to Malkut and back again, in infinite swirls of energy. Believe, and what you give comes back to you. Know before whom you stand. Trust in Hashem always. Grief and joy are mirrored as two sides of the golden coin. Know which way to flip. She says, adjusting her coins. Accept the flip side as it comes. Love your friends and know your enemies, and treat them with equal care. Your friends can ofttimes be your enemies, while your enemies, unsuspecting, can often be your friends. Human nature is a fickle thing. The great master gives and takes away, but always in his own season. Those who worship him and know him shall trust that he will bring forth the bounty so richly deserved from unexpected sources. Prescient. Blessings follow curses, and even curses can sometimes be a blessing in disguise. Be grateful for all that you receive, and live with joy as comfortably as you live with despair. The wheel of fortune turns, and with centrifugal force will cast off that which is unnecessary in your life. Don't tarry too long in despair, or dwell too long in the illusion of everlasting happiness. Both are needed for growth, and both are pruned in the garden of our cultivated souls. Copyright Tanya Desiree Aarons, 2000. The next one should come with a trigger warning, so if you can't handle anything to do with the topic of child sexual abuse, go and make a cup of tea, read a book, lie down, cuddle your cat or your dog or your bird, nourish yourself, take a deep breath and turn me off. It's perfectly okay to protect your heart and your mind. God knows I've had to protect my heart and mind many, many, many times. Little one, survivor. To be a little girl in my family home was to live in a house of secrets, to live a shadow life of denial, shame, and regret. To know that no matter how many times they told you they loved you, it was all lies. They did not love or protect you. From a very young age, you were a whore, to be sullied and disgraced, not just sexually, but emotionally as well. For shelter, clothing, for food, toys, books, and trinkets. You're looking at one that I received when I was 9 years old. I'm not throwing that out the window though. That was mean to do that to me actually. I don't know really what that was about. Don't divest me of the few things that I have cherished all my life, even if they came in strange and unexpected ways. I've lived in poverty long enough to know, don't part with your gold, biatches. Just saying. Your mother's boyfriends came and went, and you were the prize, the draw card, the bonus, as one of the partners so proudly and openly referred to you. That was Case, by the way. I was the bonus. I was the little extra on the side for slap and tickle and moronic, dirty little sexual fantasies when I would tolerate no more abuse. I had courage and determination. I survived. How? I don't know. But I'm here. And I wrote that on the 9th of February 2001. Just observing strange cars going up and down. As my neighbours across the road always have so many cars coming and going. It's insane, really. Anyway, not my monkey, not my circus. In other words, not my business. Tales of an emancipated woman and how the unevolved wanted to clip her wings. Scene opens on a carriage of a train inbound for Brisbane City. It is a morning train packed full of office workers and students and other members of the general public. A woman sits reading a book. There is an empty seat beside her. She is absorbed in her novel. At the next stop, a younger Japanese woman slides into the seat beside her. She waits for the woman to acknowledge her. This actually happened, people. This is a true story. The woman is still absorbed in her book, but she becomes increasingly conscious of the young woman beside her. The young woman waits for her to glance up and wishes her, "Good morning." The woman smiles and returns her greeting, then returns to reading her book. The young Japanese woman patiently waits for further acknowledgement. It was kind of insane that morning, I must say. She indicates this by leaning forward slightly as if to read over the woman's shoulder. An intense energy develops, wherein the woman feels an unbearable urge to close the book and converse with the younger girl. She does so, and an interesting dialogue takes place. Topics covered were, I'm trying not to laugh because it was such a bizarre encounter. Topics covered were the climate in Queensland, how she enjoys living here. She has also come from another country to live here for better health reasons, how she admires the peaceful, easygoing people. She shares with the Japanese girl personal information such as divorce, poverty, employment. She encourages the girl to study hard to be financially independent before considering marriage and selling herself off to a man for security as she had done in her youth. She advised the girl to enjoy life to the fullest, every day of her life, but to maximize her potential while young. The girl is delighted and interested in everything she has to say. She is also aware that other passengers in the carriage have also been listening to her conversation with the young girl. She feels slightly bemused and embarrassed that she is, in effect, delivering a lecture on her perspective of the meaning of life to a group of people, but she hopes that, if they were listening, that they will benefit from her worldview, to give them something to think about or to remind them of things they need to hear. She feels slightly like a mad guru or prophet disguised as an ordinary woman on a train. She wonders what it is that brought this young woman to her this morning and what it is that made her open up to her so unexpectedly. She blushes with the knowledge that she has probably made a fool of herself with a complete stranger by sharing so many of her thoughts in a 20-minute journey on a very public train. She feels vaguely amused at her own crazy behaviour, but she remembers how she initially tried to keep the girl shut out of her world to avoid the encounter in the first place, and that it was the girl's determination to befriend her that had brought her to this open dialogue. The girl departs the train at the same station as the woman. It was actually at the end at Central Station, right? They walk together to the top of the escalators. The woman bids the girl goodbye and smiles. The girl grabs hold of the woman's hand and tells her that she will never, ever forget her. The woman, thinking that she has mistranslated, tells her, "Yes, it was lovely to meet you too. I met you also." The girl shrieks in a desperate manner, "No, no, I will never, ever forget you." The woman is startled, looks around. There are people darting in all directions towards the escalator. She moves away from the escalator, the girl still clasping her hand. She pats the girl's hand, calmly tells her, "It's all right, dear. We'll meet again one day, perhaps on the same train one morning." The Japanese girl is soothed and smiles happily and departs with this promise of friendship. The woman is overwhelmed by this emotional exchange with a stranger. She steps onto the escalator and bursts into tears. The tears flow uninterrupted all the way down the escalator, where she tries to contain them before walking through the subway and into the arcade, which is usually crowded with people at this time of day. After the tears, which freely express her surprise and anxiety, and the overwhelming feeling of being so unconditionally loved by a total stranger's unequivocal interest in her, a feeling of exuberance follows. She literally floats into work and, feeling joyous, shares her experience with her work colleagues, who also feel freaked out by the strangeness of it. She feels strangely uplifted and validated. The encounter changes her worldview of herself and how she fits into it, her little place in the cosmos. And I wrote that in May 2001. And I'll add to that, I was working at the Office of Health Practitioners Board as their archivist, archiving all the records of doctors and dentists and occupational therapists, all kinds of health practitioners, except they didn't have homeopaths on their books, unfortunately, when it came my turn to lay a complaint. But there were all kinds of doctors, specialists as well, right across the board, literally the health practitioners board, who had fallen foul with inappropriate sexual behaviours with their patients. So I was the archivist, going through and collating everything, making sure everything was in perfect order, and then eventually me and my supervisor, John Posner, I think was his name, took them to the storage facility where those records are archived for, well, in perpetuity. That I think at least until those complainants and doctors involved die. That's why it was such a shock and an outrage to discover last year on the 8th of January that my patient file is missing and or disposed of, because I know for a fact that should not happen, because I archived similar, worse case scenarios of complaints against health professionals, right? And the other thing I want to add to that story is I should have taken the fucking day off work that day. It was such an unusual encounter and bizarre and kind of inappropriate that it had me a bit freaked out. But I regret not saying to that young woman, she was in her late 20s, maybe mid to late. She was younger than I, and I would have been 36 at the time, just turned 36. I should have said to her, look, let's just hang out, spend the day together. You're clearly lonely and need a friend, right? That's what I should have done. Fuck going to work in a job that was very triggering and distressing for me, because I was reliving all the emotional and psychosexual abuse that I had gone through with the homeopath lover was all being torn open each day, going through those files, and I was grounding into it and going over it. And ultimately, my friend Jared encouraged me. He said, "You too should lay a complaint, Tanya. There's a reason why you were put into that job." I was temping through an agency, by the way. I think it was Drake I was working for at the time. He said, "There's a reason that you were put into that job and forced to confront all this ugliness every day on a daily basis, was to make you acknowledge the wounding and deal with it. And, you have a responsibility, actually, a duty of care to report it and set a precedent so that he can't get away with it with anyone else ever again," right? So eventually I did lay a complaint via it wasn't the Office of Health Practitioners Board, because they didn't deal with homeopathics. I can't remember who I did it through now. It'll come back to me. Anyway, nothing got done. He got away with it. But they did tell me that complaint that I filed would be kept as a permanent record, so that should there ever be another complaint against him, then they would hit him with the full force of the law. But the irony is, I actually knew that he had had another previous lover some years prior, who was also happened to be a New Zealander, had also laid a complaint against him because he threw it in my face that, "What is it about you Kiwis that you always whistle blow and try to destroy a man," right? It wasn't about destroying him at all. It was about just having a bit of fucking integrity and honour and reclaiming our sanity and our dignity after the way he had dragged us through the fucking mud, But the irony is that it was the Health Rights Commission I reported to. So when they called me in for a meeting, and they said that they had spoken to him about my complaint, and the young woman that was working for them said to me that he came in and she said, "You've got him really scared and on the back foot." I said, "Oh, really? Have I? Why is that?" She said, "He was shaking from head to toe, pale as a ghost." She said he had guilt written all over him, but she said, "We just don't have enough evidence to," which is bullshit, because I gave them plenty of evidence, including the remedies that he had put me on, which some of them were so inappropriate. They even said they had another homeopath write a report and actually stated that he had me on very unusual remedies that were not the normal practice, right? Now, I know for a fact that the stuffy Sagria he put me on sent me psychotic for about 4 days. I don't know what was in that stuffy Sagria, or there's meant to be such minuscule amounts of the toxins in that they shouldn't be able to send you psychotic, but something happened when I was on that, and I had it was like waves going through your entire body and just moving in up through you and just gushing and like being emptied and then filled up and emptied. I'm talking on a spiritual level. It was fucking intense. I was actually visiting a young friend at the time who was enmeshed and got involved with him too. It was all very evil and sick when I look back on it. And she said to me, "What's wrong with you, Tanya?" I said, "I don't know. I'm having some kind of breakdown. And it's this remedy he's got me on. I was fine before he put me on that." So maybe it's correlations, not causation, or maybe it was just some kind of breakdown. But I had never experienced that kind of breakdown before. I've had many breakdowns in my lifetime due to my complex trauma and the horrific abuse I've endured. So for as far as breakdowns go, that was so highly unusual. I actually looked at this friend Kylie and I said, part of me, I said to her, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to have to go back and see David Davidson and say this remedy is not working for me. It's doing something really, it's having a bad effect on me, part of me. And I did actually go and see him, which of course he, with his perversion and arrogance and fucking filthy attitude, thought it was an excuse to see him for sex, right? It's just disgraceful. Anyway, I said to him, look, this stuff isn't agreeing with me. So he did actually tell me to stop taking it, which I didn't need his advice for that. I'd already stopped taking it when I realised it was doing something to me that wasn't healthy. But anyway, the person, the other homeopath that had put in a report, said he has her on the most unusual unusual remedies that, how did they phrase it? Are not the usual best practice, or however they worded it, that they said they found that a bit astonishing too. But apparently that wasn't enough evidence. Read that as I wasn't important enough, and I didn't have enough money, and I didn't have enough support. So, like has always happened when it's come to legalities in my life, I got shuffled off, kicked to the curb without getting any justice. And although in that instance I wasn't seeking compensation, but like with the will dispute, not getting my rightful inheritance and not getting adequate compensation, and being fleeced most of the time by the lawyers, by the way. So I just became very sanguine about it all and stopped giving a fuck, and basically spent the next 20 years on and off feeling suicidal, right? Which occasionally I still do feel suicidal. But as I pointed out to my beautiful psychiatrist today, I said, I was talking about how my friend Scott, when COVID came out, was worried that, about my unvaccinated status, and was worried that I might die of COVID. And I said, Scott, I said, it's not that easy to die. I've tried numerous times. And I said, but I was grateful that he cared about me and was concerned about my well-being and worried that I might actually die, No, it's not that easy to die, people. I should know, because I came close to death many times, even in early childhood. So I don't know why it's easy for other people to die, but I was given this life of torture, more or less, over the last almost 6 decades. But it is what it is, and I have survived it, and I am thriving in my own weird way, even though I don't have a loving partner. I have the most beautiful friends and the most beautiful doctor and neurologist now looking after me and ensuring my continuance on this planet. And my psychiatrist said to me today that he has every confidence that I will live to be a very old lady, which is sweet. It's sweetness. I said to him, Brian, I don't actually want to be extremely old. He looked at me alarmed, I said, I'll be happy if I live another 10 or 20 years. I said, by then, 20 years, I'll be 79, I don't have any expectations of my lifespan, because I know how precarious it's been and how fraught and how difficult it's been to even live this long against the odds. So I don't say that lightly, But we talked about it, and he said to me, even if you only have 10 more years alive, Tanya, and you have to continue your life out, bear your life out alone for the next 10 years, he said, I'll be happy to see you healthy and at peace and comfortable, with comfort and ease in your own skin, even if it means you stay alone. That's still a good life. And he's right. Of course I hope against hope, like a silly little schoolgirl. of finding a true love partnership of my own, right? Someone who's not married to someone else, and you know, that can be with me. But oh dear goddess, if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with that. I value and cherish my beautiful friends who do love me deeply and cheer me on and encourage me and gift me enormously, even including my current treatment regime. And, you know, my beautiful friend that gifted me the aircon and this laptop that is now currently dying, but that's okay. Computers die, that's the nature of computers. It's not her fault, it's just things break down. But, you know, she's gifted me enormously too. You know, my psychiatrist has gifted me enormously. And the love and affection and sweetness from my friends in Alter Egos and at Brooklyn Standard, that too is a precious gift. And yeah, it's like there is every indication that I will live a longer and happier life, provided I don't fall prey to any more silly mistakes or malfeasances, and I keep my health in order, and you know, continuously blossom out in all my aspects of my being, and rejoice in my life, or what's left of it, and what might still emanate for me. Emanate, a constant growing and blossoming and manifesting, and putting out so much love that is real and nurturing and cherishing, and receiving the same back to me at the appointed time, with the right person in the right place in the right time, that is able to choose me each and every day, each and every night, from his own heart, mind, body, soul and spirit. Soul belongs to God, of course. It's coming, people. It's coming. All the signs and portents and the lighting up of beautiful people around me, even in my dance space, show me that it's coming. That beautiful young Japanese man in that little restaurant today, when I thanked him for the lovely meal, beamed with heartfelt joy that he was shown appreciation. And you know what, people? It's the little things that make a life. It's the love and the acknowledgement and the appreciation and the gratitude, and every now and then the Tanya throws a full-blown berserker tantrum when things aren't going right, or when she's seeing some great injustice, because that too is an expression of love, when someone stands up and says, enough, no. So it's not all a negative thing to stand in your own light and smite and hold your ground. But I'm looking forward to a life that is blessed and surrounded by great and true and honouring love and peace. And I'm manifesting it. If I'm going to live in this physical incarnation, in this body that's never really been all that well, then I have to manifest that life now, today, in this moment, with great joy and expectation and exhilaration. Put the energy into it so that the right people and the right circumstances will unfurl for me beautifully, honouringly and peacefully. So thank you to my true friends and beloved ones. Even though you're all platonic, I do value and appreciate you all. So the next story is called Strange Encounter Number 3. Now the reason why I'm titling these strange encounters was at that time, I had been to a fortune teller sometime around 1998, 99, and no, I remember correctly now. I went to the Spiritualist Church in Mean Street in Spring Hill. Don't get me started on that church. I actually had a psychic attack happen there where I went to a service and someone, invisible entity, was choking the fuck out of me. I could actually feel like an invisible hand on my throat. So I didn't continue going to that church because I knew there was something demonic unleashed in that place at that point in time by probably someone really dark had called that down. Wasn't pleasant, people. But I had an overhead reading gifted to me from one of the mediums that was doing the an overhead is when the medium stands up and they call it an exhibition or an example of their abilities that they can communicate with the spirit world. So it's called an overhead, where they will pick out a person in the audience, which in this case was me, and they will tell you something that they can see about your future. It's not always to do with your future, but often it is, or something to do with your, friends or family members that have passed or pass on a message. And it's actually deeply emotional when you have that, because although we all believe that there's life after death and that our family and friends have gone on to a better place, call it heaven, call it nirvana, call it the void, call it whatever you're comfortable with in your frame of reference and your religious or spiritual pathway. But we all do believe in it. But when you have actually someone close to you bring you a message through the conduit of the medium, it still is a bit of a kind of a shock. It's a bit confronting, especially if the medium is capable of physical mediumship and can adopt their voice or say things in certain modes of speech and certain expressions that only your family member or friend used. It's a bit shocking, actually. It's kind of still, even though you believe, it's still kind of a shock, right? So this particular medium said to me, no, it wasn't a female. I remember it now, it was a man. He said to me, because there was another time I went, this was all prior to the attempted strangulation in the church, right? There was another medium I saw that was female that brought my mother through, and I said, I do not have communication with that entity. And she got very angry and upset with me because it's my mother, right? Most people don't understand. They think, oh, it's your mum, you'd be happy to hear from your mother. Most people have wonderful mothers, or even if their mother could be an arsehole at some point in their life, they usually got over it and everything was sweet after, right? No one can comprehend having a mother that literally was so toxic and evil and so destructive to me, since even in gestation, when she tried to abort me, right? My sister begged for my life. So this went on all through my life until 2.5 years after her death, with that evil dispute, the constant cycle of abuse that went on, because she was a psychopath. But a medium in a fucking spiritualist church, which is a Christian spiritualist church, so they're all about forgiveness, has no concept that some people are just pure evil and not good for you. And so when she drew my mother through, or my mother jumped into her auric field from the spirit world wanting to communicate with me, I went, no, sorry, can't talk to that one. She was like, what? But you're not being fair. She's got so much to tell you, and she wants your forgiveness, and she wants this and she wants that. I said, oh yes, she wants. She says, she thinks, she feels. Me, I, right? I said, the woman's been dead at that point in time. When did I go, Bear? Oh, no. So this was after my mother had died. Oh, look, I'm slipping out of timelines now because, yes, I've segued right off course, haven't I? I'm talking about the woman medium that I saw after my mother's death. And so that would have been, my mother died in 2010, and this would have been 2013, 14. I said, the woman's been dead and she still hasn't evolved. Oh, actually, it was about 4 years, 2014. That she still hasn't fucking evolved. She's been in the spirit world for 4 years. She hasn't evolved past her own narcissism. Oh, but she wants to help you. I said, she doesn't want to help me. I said, that entity only ever tried to destroy me to the point where I almost died many times, even in childhood. I said, that entity I do not communicate with. She is banished. So the medium got very fucking distressed, which is understandable, in front of an entire audience. Even the audience are looking at me. I said, can you bring someone else through? Because I will not speak to that entity. I had every right to do that, though, because they have no idea when they're bringing someone like that through how dangerous and triggering and destructive it can be, right? The same thing happened when I visited a medium in Browns Plains. We weren't even having a reading. I just went to visit her socially because she was so distressed about, you know, the COVID epoch, and was worried that her daughter would be forcibly against her will in the school system. And I said, that can't happen. It's illegal for that to happen. If it does, you, me, and everyone else will completely go to war. But she was frightened, and justifiably so. Those were frightening times in 2020, 2021. So I went to comfort her, and while I was going to comfort her and hang out with her, and, you know, we spent a lovely afternoon at each other's company, my former lover, David Davidson, literally jumped into her, which happens to mediums, you know, if they're open. They need to shut down, by the way. They need to be professional and shut it down. So when he jumped into her, I said to her, I don't communicate with that entity. He's banished. I said, along with my mother. She just looked at me. She said, oh, he wants you to speak to him nicely. I went, I don't talk to that cunt. She was shocked, you know. But you see, unless they've walked in my moccasins and actually experienced what I went through with those entities when they were alive, they can't understand why I refuse to acknowledge them or communicate with them. Occasionally Davidson does float through here. He's not actually supposed to be able to get into my house, but he's found a way to get through to me occasionally when I do trance drummings. And if I'm in a good mood, I might humour him a little bit and communicate a little bit with him. But if it gets in a little bit weird, I go, no, out, not dealing with you, you know, because I have control over my mind, body and spirit, not them, right? You are powerful when you are incarnated. You are the one in control. Never let the evil spirits try and take control over you. It's not wise, people. Just saying. Anyway, I've segued from that to the overhead I had at the Main Street Spiritualist Church here in Brisbane back in about 1998, 99, I can't remember exactly. I'll have it written down somewhere. It'll be in my journals because I wrote it down because it was an amazing message he gave me. I actually got chills from head to toe. My whole nervous system came online and I was shaking with chills. That's how I knew he had spoken the absolute truth. Like, you know, when you have an authentic spirit gifting you truth, people, because your body literally vibrates like with kind of like chills, or some people feel butterflies, some people get hot flushes, some people get cold, but it's up to the individual how you somatize it. Pardon me, but I literally went right through from head to toe with chills, like I had kind of a fever, you know. It was like, whoa. I looked at the medium. He could tell that I was resonating with the message, because he could see me going, you know, literally. I don't remember his name, but he was excellent. He was an excellent medium. So he said to me, you are going to have, it was before I moved house, right, to this house. So it would have been around that time period. He said to me, you're going to have 8 very strange and bizarre encounters. He said, so bizarre and unusual that you will take particular note of them. And he said, I recommend you write it down, which is why I was writing down. I wrote down about the Japanese girl, and I wrote down about the Irishman, because they were so fucking bizarre. And I remembered the medium telling me, there will be 8 people that will come into your life. He said, maybe just brief encounters, or they'll have some kind of message for you. He said, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to happen. He said, but you will know when each one happens that this is a way shower and a messenger, that you are about, not very long after, he said, you are about to have your life completely change. He said, you will move to another area in Brisbane. At that time, I was living in Loganlea. 1999, I was living in Loganlea in a house my mother bought, which ostensibly I was supposed to inherit, right? But she wouldn't put it into writing, and it was just another con job with her then con artist boyfriend, who she later married. It was more abuse and more lies and more treason and more awfulness. So I literally had to escape that house and them, and moved without their knowledge of where I was going. I came to Mount Gravatt East, a house I rented privately in Mount Gravatt East for 2 years, from a very kind, lovely Dutchman who was very kind to me, which I appreciated greatly. And then from there, this Housing Commission house came up in 2003. So, but this medium said to me, you will have these 8 very bizarre encounters, and they are astonishing, he said. And then, you know, not long after, in the span of a few short years, you will be moving to another area in Brisbane. And he said, you will move to a house with a mushroom-coloured roof with lots of trees. And he said, and you'll be safe and happy there. And here we are. I've lived in this house now. Moved here in 2003 in May. 5th of May 2003, and so I've lived here almost 21 years. So that man not just spoke into my future, but saw these 8 unusual encounters of, well, can't really call them earth angels, but they definitely were way showers. The Japanese girl, I should have taken the day off work, as I said, and spent the day with her. She was off to go and study English at the International English School, you know. I should have just said to her, let's bunk off together and just do something frivolous and silly, and because I never did see her again, even though I'd promised that I would meet her on the train again. Never did meet her again. And I often wondered how that young girl, how her life panned out. You know, she was a sweet, sweet young woman. Anyway, strange encounter number 3. 16th of May 2001, 5:45 p.m. Midway between Central Station and home. Home in 2001 in May. I moved out of my mother's house in September of that year, I think. So I was still living in Logan Lee in that house. Yes, that's correct, because I was 2 years at Mount Gravatt East and then I moved here. Yeah. Just under 2 years. 18, so it must have been 18 months then. May, June, July, August, September. Oh well, 20 months. Anyway, I write, and I was literally feeling this in my body somatically as well on the train coming home and I was still, now what was I doing? Where was I working then? Because I would have been at work if I was coming home at that time of night. It must have been I was working at MBF as a temp for a couple of months. So yeah, I must have been at MBF, which was another horrible fucking toxic job that was awful. But anyway, we won't go into the jobs. But I had a series of really abusive, horrific jobs which is another reason why, I just couldn't cope in the workforce anymore. Meant years and years of poverty, right? So, midway between Central Station and home. My life is speeding up, gearing up for massive change. Not known whether for good or evil, but I feel the churning of the jet propeller engines deep in my inner gut. Not a physical churning, but of a spiritual, psychic knowing, growing like a fetus in my soul. A new unfoldment is about to begin, a new direction. The biological clock is also ticking. Bear in mind, at this point in time, I was just over 36 years of age. A rhythmic beat joining with the knowing in an orchestrated, blended beat, not heat. Oh dear goddess. Which way will destiny lead me? Hopefully not beating me with any heat, although I do live in Australia. You gotta laugh, honestly. To a new career or study, or to impending motherhood with a stranger or a long-term loving partner? Which reality will I choose? Which reality is truly mine? Why do I feel this strange yearning? What is growing inside of me? Not a child, not yet, but a belief in a new birth of some kind, whether physical or spiritual. I sense anxiety and fear of the future. Today I have wrestled with my inner conscience with reference to feeling a need to seek counsel with David. That would be David Davidson. Or do I require revenge or just mere acknowledgement of my never-ending pain? Why do I feel the need to grasp on to the ugliness of dead relationships when there is so much beauty and potential in the world? Well, the man was a sociopath and had really done a number on me when I was very vulnerable and unwell and in love and weakened and had almost died of a very bad asthma attack, by the way. So I was clasping hope against hope of, as my psychiatrist calls it, from Thanatos to Eros. And that was a mistake only the very young can make, really. The very young and the very broken. So I've learnt from that experience, but took years and years of therapy for me to finally fucking learn, right? And as I say, I still make mistakes, trusting in people who feign enthusiasm and interest. And it's awful how I've been treated as a woman, but there's nothing I can do about it but continuously shoulders out, boobs out, head up, carry on with my dance. Today I met a crazy Irishman named Noel. He reminded me so much of David that I fear that I was again programmed by spirit into seeking justice for myself. Not necessarily penury justice, just the kind of peace and harmony that comes from exorcising old devils and setting free the negativity that continues to have a hold over me. Last night I was robbed of my car CD player, yet I was serene in the face of this violation. I have been violated in so many other ways that the intrusion into my personal space of my car seems almost insignificant in comparison. Am I ill or insane? And the CD player being robbed out of my car happened right outside Emmanuel Mesh's house over here near where I live in Holland Park. And I can't help feeling that that was a setup too and deliberate, but I couldn't prove it, so I just let it go. But it was very strange that that should happen outside his house. But it is what it is. This Irishman, Noel, tried to psych me out by staring into my eyes. I matched his gaze, unwavering, even managed to smile, both with my soul and my mouth. I sent warmth out to him, but still protected myself as much as possible. He felt uncomfortable and, David-like, he abruptly left. Then, like a strange calling, he waited for me to leave the American bookstore, then proceeded to follow me. It's kind of ironic that I was in that particular bookstore because it was run by people I knew from the Jewish community, and the husband, very nice man, very kind man, had always been very decent to me, was actually watching me having this weird encounter with this strange Irishman, and was sort of like, I could see him thinking, what's going on here? Well, I didn't know what was going on either, so I just went with the flow and, left the store and proceeded to go to work, right? It was probably in my lunch break. Anyway, the Irishman proceeded to follow me outside the store, which was odd. Unafraid, I proceeded to walk down the street. But after about 10 feet, because I could feel him, I knew he was following me. It was weird. We already had this intense energy between us. A complete stranger I just met in the bookshop. Odd. So after about 10 feet, I turned and asked him if he was following me. He repeated the same back to me, utilising bizarre mirroring like David used to employ. Classic gaslighting and classic modus operandi of the psychopath when they mirror you. By the way, I smiled. He asked me where I work. I said, in Brisbane. He asked me for my email. I said I had none. I was filing in a shit job, which was true at that time. I didn't have a computer at that time. I mean, my own personal computer. And we parted then, with him insisting that he was going to become a Buddhist monk, something he'd used to attract my attention initially, which I had thought was vaguely interesting, you know. He actually said he was travelling up to Mariba. Apparently there's some monastery up in Mariba, which is somewhere north of Cairns. So I, you know, because I didn't know anything about these things, I just went, oh yeah, that's interesting, you know. But anyway, I told him, whatever space you're in, mate, and left. I felt amused and amazed. Another unexpected connection with a stranger, a potential relationship that I smothered because of the bizarre nature of the encounter and the reminder of David, that would be David Davidson, who seems to have left his mark on me still, in that I have been attracting strange and often unwholesome men pretending love, and this knoll pretending friendship and potential or spiritual enlightenment, whatever his game is. He asked me, what is your game? I answered, I have none. I am devoid of games. What's yours? A very strange encounter indeed. And I wrote that on the 16th of May, 2001. Lovers leap like lepers. Some of these I only titled much later on, so you can almost read the dripping sardonic sarcasm and or irony, because even I sometimes have to take the piss out of my own thoughts and emotions and expression. Sometimes it's just a little bit astonishing, people. Here I write, have you ever experienced real love? Felt the bliss and exhilaration of falling in love, perhaps for the very first time, only to discover that the one you felt all this emotion for is false, is seeking your destruction, is colluding with your enemies to bring that destruction about. That even with this knowledge, you persist in loving this person because the awful grief and emptiness that is left in your soul is unbearable. So you cling to a distant memory, a smile, a touch, an aroma, snippets of conversations shared with your lover, things that made you feel warm and loved and protected, things which dissolved like acid rain on parched earth in the harsh dawning of reality. Like after making love one afternoon with Dave, he saw me off at the door and said, oh, my 5 o'clock woman is due soon. Like I was just some scabby little whore, just shucked off like a husk. And this is why, people, sometimes I wish I were a true Viking and could have gotten away with murdering these bastards, because they were that cruel and sadistic and vicious. And yet they live and haunt me still. One haunting me from the spirit world occasionally, drifting through, seeking my attention, and that one appearing behind me at crossroads or red lights in jeeps, still very much alive, but soulless and cruel and evil and perverted is he. And he knows it, and he knows I know it, but he also knows my love was authentic and real. So, on I read. The reality that you were cheated on and objectified, that your lover did not want a relationship with the real you, that his fantasy of unending self-gratification without the structure of a long-term relationship was destroying you emotionally, mentally, and physically. The rejection of your individuality, your beauty, and your love was so devastating that you thought you would never recover or learn to love again. And I wrote that on the 13th of August 2001, and yet I had the same repeat pattern again in 2014 till really 20 was the last time I had a conversation with that one, that pervert. The cycling of the same kind of sadism and repeat pattern is crazy making, quite frankly. But life goes on, and I still believe that there is a real, authentic, caring, beautiful man out there for me who will love me with everything he is and everything he has inside his mind, body and spirit, and who will treat me with kindness and decency and will be there with me for however years are allotted to us both on this earth. And I'm excited to meet him when he appears in my life and shows me that he's the real thing and that he loves me and chooses me and is able to be loyal and faithful to me and devoted to me, and I to him, because I'm done with these malfeasant, lackluster, disgusting men that were just cruel and vapid and empty. I'm done. And that's why I enjoy my platonic friends who show me by their steadfast love and affection, their heartfelt intentions. But I'm still hoping and praying for a man of my own that I can have with me here in my home or wherever we end up living together, I don't know, but a man that can be my man, my own true love that chooses me. And could happen one day. Could happen. Look at all these strange encounters I was having back 23 years ago. That prophecy came true, people. So here I write the Jacob's Ladder Syndrome. A poor woman climbing high, being crushed by angels in disguise. then falling into the abyss, pardon me, of confusion and despair, then rising to the heights of human yearning. The unending desire to overcome, to succeed, and once the pinnacle of success is reached, to nurture and protect, to love and to teach the stragglers that follow, to complete the cycle of healing the sick and protecting the innocent, of advancing the cause of human rights, animal rights, and environmental rights. To go where the overeducated and the selfish have never gone before, to create a new paradigm of peace, mercy, and justice for all future generations to follow. And here we are at 2024, creating new paradigms of peace, mercy, and justice after the last 4 years of absolute, ghastly, global horror. But I wrote that back on the 22nd of August 2001. So only, a couple of weeks before 9/11, right? So there you go. I was attuned even back then and didn't know it and thought I was crazy, by the way. Back then, I was firmly convinced that I was utterly, utterly crazy. And my beautiful psychiatrist sometimes still has to remind me that I'm not crazy. And he actually looked me in the eyes a couple of years ago and said, "You're interdimensional, Tanya. I see you leave your body, go away, do a little tour, come back." So I am in communication with higher realms at times, only I don't realise it myself, right? Well, I guess if you were always self-aware, you would probably go crazy. So there is that. Cosmic Dream Weaving. It's a poem. Actually, this is one of my favourite poems I wrote. I haven't written a lot over the years, so I'm presenting to you my few examples that I thought were, that I'm proud of or that are meaningful to me, and I've given you explications as to why. Cosmic Dream Weaving. Shadow dancing down parquet floors, heels clicking staccato fashion, intrinsic pattern blending into life, sunshine speckled, glistening kaleidoscope, crystal meridian, spectrum of light and shadows, creating harmonic illusions. Play of light, mysterious shadows disguise the quintessential truth. Darkness and light make strange bedfellows, but bring order and tone and depth to the creative artistry of the universe. And I wrote that on the 19th of August 2001. The Shrekler. The blue askew visor squashed on the bewildered, dishevelled hair attached to the low noise tolerance, scrambled brains, totalitarianist, heckling, antisocial critique of music and sound at the Brisbane Writers' Festival. Or is she just mad? September 2001. was this crazy American woman that was there when we were at the Brisbane Writers' Festival. Jared and I attended, and she kept screaming, "Microphone, microphone," and shrieking into it, and it just inspired that poem. I don't know why. Why, Desiree? Permanent writer's block. Where is the child of creation who lived inside me so long ago? She effervesces with the outflow of energies and words and emotions. She absorbs the sights and sounds around her. She feels the pain and angst, the comedic tragedies and the foolish petty simplicities of the human experience. Yet she refuses to yield the golden fruit of her ripening wisdom. Why? Why is she keeping her truth locked inside? It is time to release the knowledge, the product of her imaginings, the compilation of her life experience to the world. The world needs affirmation and guidance, love and wisdom, truth and comfort. Why does she refuse to yield? Who is ready to share her truth? Who can tap into her shields of protection and gently extract her over-burgeoning creativity? Or can she only achieve this from within herself? When can I tap once more into the fountain of all blessing and creativity that represents my inner child? When can I reunite my etheric bodies and reintegrate into my physical reality? Will I then, I'll have to read that again. Sorry, I'm getting tired. When I can reunite my etheric bodies and reintegrate into my physical reality, will I then burst forth with all the vitality of my life force, with inspiration and love? How did I separate myself from my inner child, and why has she blocked me? Who is she still trying to protect? Who is the nurturer of secret places of the soul, me or my inner child? Come to me, my sweet, my innocent, my little one. You and I are one. We have a responsibility to the world to project our unity, our unsullied energy, and our talents. We need to survive in a different way. We need to stop denying our talent, our desire for success and prosperity. Hiding our light under a bushel will only keep us trapped in poverty and oblivion, and we deserve so much more. Think about how wonderful it will be to reveal your inner light and receive admiration for it, accolades even. Come out from under the stairs of your psyche. You are no longer safe there. You are denying your right to shine and to glow and to effervesce. No one can stop you from expressing your ultimate self, but you. You are free. They told you you were stupid and insane. They made you block your beauty from their sight because they did not deserve you. you know the healing is complete. That's very odd. All my neighbours in the street have their lights out, but I still have power. Oh well. Your time is now to carry on the work that you began so long ago. The work to live an exuberant life and to spread joy and love and peace wherever there is sadness. To show the world the art of living with grace and dignity and honour, and to impart forgiveness on those who sought our destruction, to bury our hatred deep in the cleansing waters of love and spirituality, so we can heal ourselves and others. And I wrote that on the 23rd of October 2001. And since then, at this point in time, 10th of January 2024, well, the last few years really, I have rethought about my attitude toward that value, forgiveness, because it meant only further and ever more increasing and cruel and excessive abuses were done to me in the guise of those filthy, disgusting entities thought they could take advantage of my kindness and my willingness to forgive. And so I forgave them, and it cost me dear. So don't ever ask me ever again to forgive someone unless I have been gifted a heartfelt, sincere, honouring, genuine, authentic apology, and even then I'll need to see actions match up with words. Otherwise, there will never be any forgiveness ever again from my soul to those who abuse me. And I'm perfectly comfortable and okay and accepting of that. That is my walk and my choice and my soul journey on this planet, to stand in my own authority and not let Christians or New Agers or even other shamans foolishly lure me into that hell loop and seduction ever, ever, ever again. Forgiveness is a gift that you give for your healing and your soul edification. But be careful, be very, very careful who you bestow that upon, because some of them are never sorry and are just monstrous and carry that on from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, while you get seduced into victimhood again and again and again, until finally your own soul says, enough. No, not one more millisecond, not one more day, not one more year, not one more lifetime will you blip on my radar and steal from my joy and peace and love and grace. Some things are just not for you, but for the gods to decide. Just remember that, people. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But by the gods, there were people in my life who are not yet worthy of my forgiveness. And you know, if you've been watching my videos or reading my writings or following me on my journey to becoming, who those entities are. Even if you've never met them, you'll know who they are to me and what damage they wrought in my life. So, some had been forgiven in the past, by the way, to my detriment. So, But back in 2001, I was still a very devout little Jewish woman, buying into that seduction of forgiveness. It almost got me murdered several times, by the way. Outrageous it was. Here I continue, Big Brother watching. Do you ever get the feeling that someone is sitting behind your shoulder, steering you in and out of weird situations in life? Do you look around after some event to see if they are there, or if it really was yourself that contributed to the weirdness? Do you almost hear a bemused chuckle in your ear when something that you thought would take all your courage and resources to endure goes off rather well against all expectations? Do you know when you are on the right pathway, when doors of opportunity open wide and even unwanted traumatic events seem in the long term to have been gifts of wisdom and redemption? Do you know in your heart and soul and mind that you are in your bliss and everything is perfection for you? Or do you battle this ease and comfort because most of your life, all that you have known perfectly is grief and failure and betrayal and disappointment, and you cling to these illusions of permanent unhappiness because they are like a pair of well-worn high-heeled shoes? You are always teetering somewhere, off balance, uncomfortable, but you like how they make your lovely legs stretch and give shapely contours to the muscles and offer you a feeling of height and power, when in reality you are being tortured in a crippling sort of way. Negativity and misery, which is kept around as a crutch for a person who avoids their own capacity for joy, cripples the soul in the very same way. Lose it. By the way, there is nothing negative about choosing to not forgive some fucking monster. In fact, it's a positive step to your self-determination and your healing, is when you can finally say no and be okay with it. You have a whole new learning to discover when you release the pain, sorrow, and anger and the frustration. Forget the creep who stole your joy. You gave it to him when you perpetuated his memory. by pining and crying and yearning for a better relationship. Hello? Form your own relationship with yourself. Be your own best friend. Be the one person in this universe who is uniquely you, and give no credence to those who wish to undermine or destroy you. They will never succeed unless you let them. Well, tell that to the dozens of women that get murdered by their partners every year. It's not always that simple. But anyway, rediscover your joy, your strength and independence. Show the world that you are back on top of things. Smile. Make a fool of yourself. Make mistakes. But go on. Go forward. And never look back on those who only brought you negativity and sadness. If they truly loved you, they would desire only the best for you. They did not, so give the best to yourself. And I wrote that on the 23rd of October 2001. The Guru Files. This was another of the 8 encounters I had that was very odd. Once I met a strange Indian lady named Geeta. She was so excited to meet me. How do I know this for a fact? She didn't leave me in any doubt of it. She told me, "It is so special to meet you." I was flattered naturally, since I have an ego, like any other human being on this planet, and have not yet subjugated my sense of self into selflessness. Therefore, I am easily entranced by anyone who shows me the slightest kindness. I decided that she wanted something from me. Don't they all? So I kept my distance for a few months, but then curiosity and boredom got the better of me. Hence all these wasted months that I could have been friends with her. So I spent 4 hours with the woman who was so enamoured of me, or is it my energies? After a while, I found her guru-like ravings boring, so I went home, feeling tired and drained. There is nothing new under the sun, just ask King Solomon of blessed memory. I am so hard to entertain these days, or am I cynical? I guess what I've really learnt from the whole experience is that people can fall in love with another person quite irrationally and without any forethought. A woman can become besotted with another woman just because of the clothes she wears or the way she carries herself when she's inside those clothes. I find it hard to define myself by the clothes I'm wearing, since in my heart of hearts, I prefer it when I am naked, and when I am clothed, I try to wear something unusual or ethnic, because if I must project an image, it will be of individuality and freedom and carefree happiness rather than that of conservatism. Geeta would like to be my guru. but it is difficult for me to sublimate my own need to transmit occult knowledge. She is a Hindu, I am a Jew, yet we both have so much we can teach one another. We are equals on the axis of human existence, both women, both mothers, both spiritually developed, although in different cultures and systems of thought, both free, yet both survivors of suffering inflicted by life and unworthy people, which has its own unique sense of freedom. Not sweet, innocent, carefree freedom as experienced by small children or wild lion cubs frolicking in the velds, but a freedom that is bought and paid for and worn as a badge of honour or as a symbol of rejoicing. I am known by those who have learnt the meaning of suffering and of blessing. They see it in my eyes and the way I watch them. You are known to me before I even choose you as a friend or lover. I await your interaction through this lifetime or several lifetimes. The source of love is eternal. I've got to plug us in. And will always attract the components of existence into its orbit. Oh my goddess, here we go. Running out of battery on this now.